This weekend, Fox News thought that they were in trouble because of Jeanine Pirro's obviously Islamophobic comments about Ilhan Omar. And then the Tucker Carlson stuff started to drop, with Media Matters going back through literally years of his appearances on the Bubba the Love Sponge show, and him saying incredibly misogynistic and clearly racist things. So the pressure has been on Fox News ever since then, and it just so happens, weirdly, that this is the week that Fox News is courting advertisers for the year. And Media Matters was there at that meeting today, protesting. Rebel HQ's Emma Vigeland was at that protest, and she joins us on the Damage Report now. Emma, welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, John.
I feel like I haven't talked to you in hours. So thank you for coming back. Tell us about this protest.
Yeah, so this was a protest organized by Media Matters in the wake of Tucker Carlson's deeply homophobic, racist, sexist, xenophobic, every phobic you got. That was Tucker Carlson on this radio show that was unbelievably named. And again, it's not things he said in private to his family that were misconstrued. He said them openly on a radio show where he compared Iraqis to monkeys, where he said Obama would have never been president if it weren't for his skin color. He said, is he even really that black, or something along the lines, joking about not being able to beat him in basketball. He excused statutory rape. It's just as vile as it gets. And I was in the camp of people saying, you know, Tucker Carlson's one of the more, I guess, principled conservatives on Fox News. I know, hear me out though, like the rest of them are just warmongers, lackeys for the Trump administration. He has some sort of libertarian views that you can get behind. He's been consistent about anti-intervention and the overreach of the NSA, things like that. But when it comes to this, he is a white supremacist, don't get me wrong. And these comments just underscored those already existing views and made it more clear that the views that I kind of thought were more principled are really just elements of his overall philosophy of white supremacy. And that's why Media Matters chose to come out along with other organizations, including Free Press USA, I believe. The Daily Kos was there. And there was a smallish protest, it wasn't super big, in front of the Fox News headquarters when they are supposedly courting advertisers because they've had trouble on their primetime shows of Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, and Tucker Carlson retaining advertisers there. So advertisers have been more willing to go to shows like Chris Wallace, people who are reasonable human beings that aren't just monsters with all of these horrific views. But they're trying to do this new strategy so they can get good advertisers back on their primetime shows. Media Matters was there to make sure that there was a crowd saying this might not be a good idea.
So I want to return to that in just a second. I did want to say, so you mentioned his being consistent on these topics, and we've been talking about this for a couple of days now. We were going to actually today. And the thing that I learned from this is that I had really thought that over the past 2 years or so, I thought he was like a Dave Rubin. Like a guy who up until 3 years ago didn't have two thoughts about politics to rub together, who all of a sudden discovered that he could get some people to pay attention to him if he becomes a right winger. I thought that Tucker Carlson just thought, you know what? White nationalism is becoming big, so I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. It's interesting to find out that no, I mean, for well over a decade, like that has been ingrained in this guy's political philosophy. And I feel like we have definitely learned that. Do you feel like based on what you've seen, based on the protests that you saw, I mean, what are your expectations that advertisers will actually be even mildly scared off by these new scandals?
So who knows? I mean, I think it's going to have to be a lot of social media strategy, which luckily Media Matters is really good at that, and trying to get these advertisers to see that there's a movement behind this, that being for not just pro-Trump in this era, but pro-white nationalism is not going to be profitable for you. And I do think that there's going to be some backlash. We've already seen some advertisers pull from these programs. I'm not sure if it was actually Jeanine Pirro or Tucker Carlson, but The Hill reported that Let Go, which is an app where you can, similar to Craigslist, where you can buy things, they've removed some of their programming, advertising on those programs. Novo Norquist, which I can't even say, no matter how hard I try.
That sounded right.
They've also that was right. Good.
I think.
They've also removed some of their programming. So we're beginning to see that happen. But I think part of what the protests were meant to do was to show advertisers that even if you get a sparkling new media strategy by Fox News Network, that doesn't that you can't go back. You can't go back to advertising on Tucker Carlson's program now that they've rebranded themselves in a certain way. It's a turd still. It might be a polished turd, but it's still a turd, and that's what the protesters were out there trying to say. And I hope you enjoyed my beautiful imagery.
Very much so. And just to the few people who might be listening to this and thinking, well, it was a long time ago. I mean, remember, this is a guy who was saying that immigrants make our country poorer and dirtier just a few months ago. This is a guy who has on people to talk about how awesome Camp of the Saints, a book about gunning down immigrants, is. So he might have been, like you said, he's learned to polish that turd a little bit, but it is still very much his philosophy on politics. Emma, thank you.
His turd.
What's that?
Very much his turd.
Exactly. I've never talked this much about Tucker Carlson's feces on one show. Thank you, Emma, for bringing that to us, and as always for covering these events live as well.
That's what I'm here for. Thanks, John.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.